Told you were gonna hate it.
It was so fucking bad. But I wanted it to be good. I kept trying to like it, and it just wouldn't. It's like that bitchy girl who's ugly too. You're like, I'm trying to be nice to you because no one else will be nice to you, but you're really making it hard.
Blake, did you watch it?
No.
Alright, so it's just the three of us, and Blake's seen the anime and read it, so we're good. We're good.
Multiple times, and I've read the books.
Right.
Seen
So,
live action.
initial thoughts.
Wait, but he was like, Blake's seen it and read it, and you're like, I have seen it and read it. Like,
Well,
yeah, no, that's what he said.
when he said read it, he meant
I've
the
read it
manga.
as humans.
When he was saying he read it, he meant the manga. I was saying read it as in
books.
I've also read the novels.
Oh,
Did you read
really?
the
There's
novels?
novels?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the L Changed the World and the BB Murder Files.
Oh,
I read both.
Are they separate stories? They're
Yes.
not.
BB Murder Files takes place with, it's the story of Elle and Naomi Misura. So one of the characters in the anime, who you didn't ever get to see.
Right.
She's like such a minuscule part in the show at all.
Whose name is it?
The
Wait, is that Ray's wife?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Ray Pimbers.
I was gonna say that had to be the person.
Yeah, so you remember the when he was sitting there like, oh yeah, I used to work with Elle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's taking place in that story.
Okay.
And then Elle Changed the World is a what if story if Elle, instead of dying from the way Light did it, was essentially he wrote his own name down in the Death Note, and then when Light tried to write his name down, it didn't work, and then he confessed everything. Matsuda shot him, he died, and then Elle was fine. Well, not fine, but he died like 28 days later or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like an odd...
And he was fine.
And
He
but
died.
he was.
I think
He
what
died
it
by
was
his
is
own
he.
volition.
I think what it was is he gave himself 30 days to live in the book, and
at any
then
point.
I don't think so.
they had a live action movie for it.
Yeah, they did have a
Maybe that's what because. Okay, I thought I saw something like that at one point. Like Light dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened in
They introduced Nier, but not
the
Mellow.
third live action movie that was like solely the Death Note story.
Right.
Okay.
Anywho, so
Yeah.
initial thoughts about the Netflix.
I was just gonna say, if you guys haven't picked up on it yet, we're talking about Death Note.
Blake's seen it and read it.
Yeah, just so everyone.
And then also I've seen it and read it.
You know what?
Or
Let's
didn't seen
let's do ourselves a favor. Let's start on a positive note. I thought Ryuk was fantastic.
That's the only thing anybody was gonna say positive.
I know.
You took it,
It
all.
was it was fucking garbage. Don't pretend you watched this because you thought we were gonna say nice things about it.
Hold on. Before you saw it, what was your expectations?
It was gonna be garbage. Don't pretend you watched it thinking anything other than it was gonna be garbage.
Just want to go around the room.
Okay.
Wondering
I've
what
heard-
people expected.
What I was expecting was I was going to hate it regardless, but from what I've been told prior to watching it was that if you watched the anime or read the manga or whatever, if you knew about Death Note, you would hate it. But
Right.
if you didn't, you would love it. And I'm like, okay, I'll go into mine thinking about that because that's how I went with Power Rangers. I was like, okay, I'm a Power Ranger fan. I'll go in, I'll watch it. I'm sure I'm going to hate it. And I ended up loving the movie. But
You faltered on love there, so I'm not sure how much you did.
I was trying to say like and love at the same time.
I love-
It didn't work.
I love it.
I love it. But I ended up loving it, and now I'm like, I tried to do that same mentality with Death Note, and it did not work at all.
Can you just edit Brandon's words so he says when you're like, "What did you think? What did you go in thinking of it?" And Brandon's
I
just
love
like,
it.
I ended up loving it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That'd be amazing, yeah.
I loved it for different reasons. Like, it was just god-awful.
What about you, Blake? What'd you go into it thinking?
I did. No, I've been planning to watch it and just haven't gotten around to it. But obviously, yeah, I went in same as everybody else. Like, no, this is gonna be total fucking shit, and it's gonna be so bad. And I knew it just from watching the trailer. I was like, I don't even know if I can watch this, and I didn't.
It won't let you down.
Yeah, so let's start with some shit that... Oh, wait,
about
Raimi,
you,
Raimi,
Raimi?
yeah.
I have heard some stuff about the anime that seemed really cool, like character development and all that sort of stuff. And this movie had none of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so while I came in really with nothing and wasn't disappointed because it was kind of just nothing.
So, let's get to the fun stuff.
I
Yeah.
think we should let Raimi give like
Yeah, I
his
wanna give-
general thoughts
yeah.
on the movie since he hasn't
Okay,
actually
that's fair.
watched or
Absolutely
read.
fair.
It was very average. The music, especially the final scene, that was horrible.
I
That
hated
was-
the music.
When
Hated
that
the
song
music.
started on
Everything's
the
awful.
Ferris wheel, I was completely pissed off. I was like, just take the music out and this scene would already be 1,000 times better.
Right.
And there were scenes like that throughout the thing where either acting was weird and took you out of it, or music choices were weird.
The acting was super bad in this movie.
It was very, very bad. It was borderline Dawson's Creek bad.
Like Brandon said, Ryuk was great.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love the design of him and all that
Willem
was
Dafoe
cool.
did fucking perfect.
Yeah, I love
would
the
not have
voice.
casted it any differently.
Everything was good about that.
I even liked how
Goblin
cartoony
voice.
he was at times.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Green Goblin. He was essentially just Green Goblin.
Pretty much, yeah. Here you go, Light. Let's do the Spider-Man.
Give me pictures of Spider-Man.
Write down Spider-Man's name.
You have the wrong character at this point.
I don't know what you're doing.
And so, for
We gotta
me,
get the lighter man.
The Lighter Man. Are you trying to say the black guy who played L?
What?
Were you saying
the lighter
like,
man.
Light?
Light Yagami
Well, his name's Light Turner.
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 Right.
Yeah, that really annoyed me too.
I mean, yeah, I had no problem with that because I have nothing to base it off of.
Well, I mean, even naming him Light. Like, if you just changed his fucking name, I would have been fine with
Maybe it
that.
would have been infinitely better if they would have just changed everybody's name.
Yeah, but no. They just kept Light, and then made it Turner.
You know, that actually probably would have been cool if it was like a whole different character.
That's
Yeah,
what
that
I
had
thought
Death
they were
Note.
gonna do with it. Was
Same.
they were just gonna make it. What if a different kind of person got a death note? An angsty high schooler who's fucking retarded. Oh wait, he's supposed to be smart. No, he's a fucking idiot. He's an idiot.
Yeah, he was dumb.
Well, like, that's one thing that's a huge difference between Light Turner versus Light Yagami. Light Yagami was popular, smart,
He was
perfect-
literally
yeah.
the top student in
Yeah.
his
Like, he was
school.
legitimately
And everybody
everything
liked
that
him.
he was
Right.
everything that everybody loved. He wasn't bullied, he wasn't stupid, he didn't make all these, like, idiot
Did
mistakes.
you get into a fight with
No.
some guys for
No,
taking
the closest
homework?
thing, he got into one fight, one time, while he was under arrest, and that was with Elle, and it was badass.
That had to be my favorite scene in the whole movie.
They were
Is
handcuffed
beginning?
together, yeah.
when she got the guy just like pushed that girl. He was like, "Hey, don't touch her!" He was like so badly said and written, and he threw his arms out. Like the acting was so bad. in
Are
that
you
scene.
kidding? My favorite
It was
was
amazing.
my favorite was when he met Ryuk and that acting. Like, he did that squeal and was purposely flailing his arms about and looked like
I
it
don't
was,
know
Oh my
that
god, it was bad.
Nat Wolf knows how to control his arms.
I don't think.
How was he running in the movie? Every time there's a like any shot of him running, he was like this
Flailing
with his
his
arms. Like I
He
don't know
really
that-
wanted to get out of there.
For
He
those
really
of you
wanted
that
his
don't
arms to
know,
get off of his body.
we were just making orangutan arms.
He'll be able to run faster if he didn't have these damn arms.
It was really weird.
It was.
Well, yeah, again, where he was screaming like that for Ryuk, but then he immediately wrote down the guy's name as like decapitation, and then the guy got decapitated in front of him, and he was just staring at him. He's just like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
killed that man.
About what
Oh,
I
cool.
expected.
I killed this high school bully. He deserved it.
Well, like that, it was so weird. Like, okay, for starters, the one thing I don't know if I loved it or hated it yet. I'm still kind of debating, but Ryuk, he wasn't necessarily the way that they portrayed him in the movie.
I did not like Ryuk in the movie.
I liked him. I liked that he was like the little devil on the shoulder, like,
Right.
hey, buddy, you should maybe write that down. Oh,
And
don't
then-
just stop there. Let's go with why.
Yeah,
like, and
yeah.
how. Like that. That was cool. I liked that.
Well, see, I didn't
But-
watch it, obviously, but one thing that really differs from Ryuk in the manga is because Ryuk in the manga, he didn't give a fuck. He was
Right.
just
Yeah.
sitting back and watching. He was just
And
letting the show ride out.
That's
Yeah.
why I didn't like him in the movie. Is he was trying to like push people to do things, and then
And then he did his own things.
well, it turned out that he didn't.
Oh,
yeah,
like, he
it was
didn't actually write their
Mia.
names,
Not
but
Misa,
then
Mia.
yeah,
Oh, God,
it seemed like he had his own agenda and stuff. Whereas
Yeah.
in the anime, he literally just dropped the note into the world because he was fucking bored, and he's like, let's see what happens.
100%.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do anything. He didn't do anything. He was just like, I'm literally
Right.
just here for entertainment. You guys are entertaining me with what you're
Right, he
doing.
wouldn't. Even when somebody was following Light, he wouldn't tell him what the guy's name was because he's just sitting there like, this is more fun for me if I watch this. This is like a TV show.
Yeah,
The only time he ever helped Light was discovering all the cameras in the house, and the only reason he did that was because he was supposed to find the blind spot for eating apples. It was literally just so he could eat apples.
Yeah,
Well,
his
Any
only
other time he
motivation.
would not help
There
Light.
was a couple times, I can't remember specific instances, but it was only because Light convinced him that if he didn't help him, that the show wouldn't go on.
Right. It was self-satisfaction.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually going to ask if the apple was as significant in the
Very significant.
anime
Yeah.
and manga.
It was juicy.
Well, they tried to play up a significance, but nothing really ever came of it.
Well, like,
I
the
love the
apples-
scene where he was at the table just devouring
Yeah,
apples
yeah,
and
yeah.
throwing them on the floor. Like, does Light pick all those up, or does his dad come home and he's like, "Hey,
Light, come downstairs."
Can you stop eating apples like this?"
Hungry for apples?
Oh god! Please put Jerry there.
Oh god, I've got a slogan.
But yeah, Ryuk was very different. Again,
Everybody
I don't
was really
necessarily
different.
hate it because I liked that he was in a way the villain.
Right, yeah.
It was a cool twist.
Well, I think they just decided this guy looks like a monster. Let's
So,
make him
yeah.
He looks scary. Let's make him bad guy.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I will say his design was amazing. I like that they kept him in the dark or out of focus for the
Yeah,
majority of the
yeah.
time. Like you could see like him through the window and see the glowing eyes. I loved that. The ambiance of Ryuk was fantastic. That being said, now that we've got what was good out of the way,
Okay, what was the girl's name?
Mia, but in the
Mia.
she was Misa.
Okay.
Misa Amane.
Yeah, Misa Amane versus Mia, whatever the fuck. And she was a goth,
She was a pop idol.
yeah, she was a pop idol that was like goth themed. In the
I said Popeye.
She was Popeye.
She was Popeye.
She worked
She was
at
a pop
Popeyes.
idol.
But in the movie, she is a cheerleader and like completely different. Like instead of being so happy and sweet and just very endearing, she was a bitch the whole
Yeah.
fucking time. You hated everything about her. Everything she did was just bitchy and conniving and evil.
Because in the anime, she was just motivated by being, whatever.
She only
was just
wanted to
motivated
help
by
Light.
by her love for Light.
Okay.
Everything she did was for him.
This was kind of the opposite then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
polar
That's,
opposite.
I was really confused at the end when it turned out to be her. I was
Yeah.
like, well, because I was confused when I thought it was Ryuk that wrote down the agents' names. 'Cause I was
Right,
like, that's
right.
not his character, and then it turned out to be her, but that's also not her character. so-
Right, yeah.
Right. It was just
Yeah, and see, in the manga, Light was like a fucking asshole.
Light's
Like,
an
he-
absolute
like,
sociopath.
He used
Right,
the
like
shit out of
Joker.
Misa. Like, she had the Shinigami eyes, which meant she could see the names and birth dates and shit of
they
everybody.
would
You could see their
die.
lifespan.
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Like, as you're walking down the street, you see Raimi, you literally will see
when you were
fucking
born,
your
when you died.
fucking
Yeah.
But then it all the trade off,
you have to trade half your life.
half your lifespan for
And
it.
you don't
He makes her
get to
do
know.
it twice.
Why? Would you already have
Well,
it?
she did it once on her own, yeah,
Yeah.
but he makes her do it again because she gave up the
She gave up the death note.
when you
so
give
she-
up the death note,
As
you
part
lose
of
it.
one of his other plans, she gave up the death note, lost the eyes, and then he made her take the deal again. So
So she at
has a
most could-
quarter of her life
She
left.
could live to be like 25, maybe.
Probably not even that long.
Nice.
Well, she was one of the few characters who didn't like get horribly dead.
She
Right.
lived in the end.
Well, she lived, but I mean, like she ended up having like the cult of Kira, and that was it. Like that's all you get to see is her walking like all robed up with like a fucking cult of people who are robed up walking behind her, and that's it. That's you don't know what the fuck happens to Misa.
Right.
Right, but like I was saying, she is only motivated to help Light, and he would use that so much. Like he would pretend that they were in love, and like full on be like, "Oh no, come on, we have to do this." No, yeah, and he'd be like super nice to her, and then you would like see his eyes fucking go
Narrow.
down.
Like he would
Right,
hug her,
right.
and you would just see the fucking sociopath look on him.
He was fucking evil. It
That's
was
nice.
great.
Like
Yeah.
he made Joker look like a nice guy sometimes.
Well, see, that's the one thing I heard that when you have the Death Note, or once you lose it, you lose all memories of
Yes.
having it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
they-
so he became like a good guy
That's a
again
really
after he lost
significant
it.
point in the movie, or
In-
not
in
in the
the-
movie, in the anime.
Yeah,
And
nothing
that
is a
was-
significant point in the movie.
And they really fucked that up because the thing is anybody who touches the Death Note
Can also
immediately
see-
sees Ryu
Yeah,
or
yeah, I
the
heard that
Shinigami
too.
that is touched to that Death Note.
right.
Then on top of that, once you renounce your ownership of the Death Note, you lose your memories.
With that being said, because it was that way in the manga, you had to be so fucking careful all of the time.
Right.
Like, he literally created a false drawer in his desk where you had to take a pin, like a fucking little pin, and pull the fucking ink thing out, the little tube,
Yeah.
and stick it up this tiny hole in the bottom to push the false drawer up to get the Death Note
And
out.
if you did it
Nice,
wrong,
yeah.
like if you lifted it too high, it would burst into flames.
That doesn't sound great though
No,
either.
he did that. Well, he did that on purpose because it would destroy all
All
of the
evidence.
evidence.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
then he has no,
And it would erase the last person's name, because that was totally a rule.
yeah.
No, that wasn't a rule.
That
That,
was-
wasn't a
yeah,
thing. You
that
can't
was
erase
something-
somebody's fucking name
by
for that
tearing
once.
out the
Yeah.
page and burning
Yeah.
it or whatever.
Now that being said, if you weren't thinking about somebody in particular and you just wrote down a name, it wouldn't work.
Right, because you
You
have
know,
to
if
be.
you have to
thinking
physically
of
be
face or whatever.
concentrating on that specific person.
Right.
If they share the same name and you were thinking about somebody that was, shared that name, it wouldn't matter.
So was the whole L thing part of that too, where he went by L, so you wouldn't know his
so
name?
L was an alias that was given to him when he went to that orphanage.
Right.
That is true. Now the sleep deprivation thing, that was never touched up on in the manga or the anime. They didn't really. They weren't like they didn't put sunglasses on him and then sing him to sleep or anything.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
That of the notes I wrote down, that was one of them where it's like, "Sing me to sleep," and then he starts singing this weird ass song. It's like,
that
okay,
was not a thing. He just honestly never really slept. Like you saw him sleep one time, I think, in the entire manga, and he just kind of passed out in his chair in that crouched position. It was just like that was it. He was like that because, well, he was just constantly thinking all the time. He couldn't shut his brain off.
right.
Watari never was there like, hey, buddy, you should probably go to sleep. It makes for a good, logical mind. He's just like, I'm going to listen to whatever you say because you're the fucking smartest person in the universe.
Yeah, I mean that became his catchphrase in the movie, pretty much.
Yeah, it was. And
I'm
it
gonna
was...
listen to whatever you say because you're the smartest man in the universe.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
That's a great catchphrase.
That'd actually be pretty good. I'd prefer that in the movie.
But with L, he went by... He didn't go by L half the time in the manga at all. He went by Ryuzaki because he wanted to double up on aliases so that even if you found out who he was in particular, you were never ever going to know his name. Ever.
Right.
Like, it was impossible. And,
There was more than just that too.
right, there was
a couple other-
Ryuga,
Hideki Ryuga.
Yeah, Hideki Ryuga, Ryuzaki.
How
and-
fucking messed up was it that Watari's real name was just Watari?
Yeah.
Who's gonna kill this guy's butler? He didn't do anything.
But they
They did,
they
though.
do in the
They do.
movie.
Yeah,
Well, that's
they
another
killed him
thing
in
that
the
was
movie.
weird.
And,
Like, they couldn't
like,
control
L
him for
shows
that
up
long.
in a diner, tells Light, he's like, "You're Kira. I know you're Kira," and then he just antagonizes him, and he knows that his dad is working on the investigation, and he knows that Light knows Watari.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just his real name. They don't even try to use aliases.
Right.
And he just kills him. He just has him go look up L's real name and then kills him.
Yeah, it just...
It's like,
He tries not to for a second.
Well, like, the thing that really pissed me off about this whole thing was that Light was a schemer. He's that guy that saw, like, 5 moves ahead and then set it up to where it would happen that
Yeah,
way.
and he
Yeah.
always had a backup plan.
pretty much the end of the movie was the most reminiscent thing of the anime.
Which
Oh, okay.
honestly was just common sense stuff. Like, most people would have come up with that same exact plan.
Yeah.
right, yeah.
I mean, it was just silly that... And I mean, like, they didn't make it to where you could control them for so long, either. Like, I don't think you had 2 days to control them.
I think you could like almost plan out their entire life in the fucking anime.
No, I'm fairly certain that you were... I'd have to look it up. Are you looking it up right now?
Yeah, let me look it up.
I thought it was only like a couple minutes before they died.
You might.
Yeah,
be
I
right.
want to say it was like it was because they're all weird numbers. It was
Right,
like 5
yeah.
minutes and 27 seconds or something.
Yeah, it was like oddly specific numbers, but it was... Yeah, they made it to where like, oh, you're gonna fucking 2 days, you're gonna get 2 days to control this asshole and do whatever you want. And then like he was still conscious but complacent. It was weird.
Yeah.
Like he's sitting there like, what's Elle's name? I don't know, man. Okay, well, can you find out? Yeah, I
I
guess.
can try.
I'll do my best. It's like that was weird. Like,
Well, didn't they? I was thinking this when I was watching it. Didn't Mia write something for Light to do, and he didn't do it?
I'd have to remember.
Because I felt like I was confused about that in the movie. Because I was like, everyone else kind of had to do what they were wrote to do,
She
but then
wrote
he's
down
kind of
that-
going against it.
Yeah, she wrote down that he would have to give her the death note, or he would die at midnight. And so he was hauling ass to try and get the death note, but had beforehand, I guess he suspected that she was the one killing people. So he ended up writing something in ahead of time for her, and then burnt his page.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
Because she
then.
didn't like specify it as he, like, she didn't make it to where, oh, he gives me the death note. It
Right.
was he has to, or.
Right, yeah. He had the option.
Right.
Well, then if he gave it to her, the Death Note kind of works in the way that he would still die at midnight anyway, right? Like
He
'cause-
should have, but
yeah, exactly.
he got it there early enough to where it would burn the page.
Right.
And then he specified specifically that when it did go in there, it would specifically burn his page.
Well, that's another thing I was pissed off about, that they covered 5 rules or so in the movie, and they showed number
Hundreds.
like 79 or something.
There's a shit ton of rules.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I would feel like in the movie they need to explain the rules more clearly, like all of them almost, in order for you to craft the story around it to make it have stakes and you want to do something with it.
Well, I mean, like, it's one of those stories that you can't really get in a movie. Like, it's just,
Right.
it's too intricate. You have to have it set up in a series.
It's
Otherwise,
23 days, by the way.
23 days?
Death Note can only operate within 23 days on the human calendar. It's
Nice.
called the 23-day rule. It's rule number 27 for some reason.
Yeah.
Because of course.
You think it could be
Yeah.
rule 23?
Well, nevertheless.
Another note that I had was at the beginning everything looked so bad. The filming, like the people looked horribly filmed,
Right.
and like they had no makeup or something. Everything was just weird tones, and it wasn't just like light. It was every character that they showed, like the cheerleaders. All of them looked bad.
Right. It
I
was
was
like
like,
everything.
why?
It was, well, it's almost like how they did Supernatural, where they purposely put a gray filter on it, but they did it unintentionally.
Yeah,
You know, like it was, everybody was dull and blah, and they looked like they had bags under their eyes. And it's
yeah,
just
exactly. Yeah.
Like, you know, these people are supposed to at least look normal. Like, they all look like they're high as shit. Like,
But every single person at the school has problems.
right.
Yeah.
And that was, again, I don't like that they made him a problem child. I don't like that. They didn't even cover how smart he was. They mentioned it.
They showed how smart he was when he was doing other kids' homework.
Yeah, he did
Yeah.
everyone's
Yeah.
homework.
Okay.
Okay,
They mentioned
first
it.
of all, he didn't even finish the fucking homework. Half the answers weren't even filled in. Did you
still-
see
you're
that?
still
He was
working on
giving them unfinished homework. He
Yeah.
was selling it to the people and it wasn't finished.
They probably just wanted those specific questions.
That's
They do the
just an
rest, like-
easy thing. You could literally just write any random fucking numbers. I wouldn't have been able to see it, but I would have seen that there was stuff underneath the
Yeah.
question.
Right.
That would have taken 10 seconds. It's little things like that that piss me off. At least try to be a good movie. At least try. Come on.
Please try.
But so I think the biggest problem I had with the movie was that there's a million little nitpicks, but it's like nothing was right. You could sit here and nitpick all day, but that's because none of the characters were right. They could have just changed every character, and the movie would have still not been that great because of little filming things, and the acting was pretty dismal,
Right.
and the story wasn't that great. But it wouldn't have been nearly as bad if they would have just changed all the names and the mannerisms, because it was like they made all of the characters just similar enough to the anime characters that it pissed you off that they weren't enough like that.
Yeah, there'd be like one scene or something that he'd have like a similarity, and you'd be like, oh,
Yeah,
cool.
and you'd be like, oh yeah, because L does that, but he doesn't do any of this other dumb shit. Like,
yeah.
And it's like, why? Just make it a different character entirely if you just wanted to make him like sweets and be smart and have weird mannerisms.
Right.
Just make it a different character because you have to have everything about him or nothing.
Well, going back to the when you hold the Death Note, you can see Ryuk thing. I love that they basically told all the fans of the anime to fuck off.
Yeah.
When she was holding the anime, and she was like, I
okay,
don't.
check this out, and then she's like, I don't see anything.
Yeah. That's the ballsiest thing.
Eat a fucking dick.
I mean, like, that's,
Only people watching this movie?
Yeah.
Because nobody that didn't watch the anime was like, oh wow, that seems really great, I'm gonna go watch that. Because the trailer was pretty bad. Even
I didn't watch the trailer. I don't think I did.
it wasn't great.
it wasn't great. The movie didn't look great even if you didn't watch the anime.
Like,
Right,
the trailer
right.
was the problem. Like I talked to some other people who hadn't seen the anime. And they're like, yeah, it just doesn't look that great. Even they hadn't seen it, and even they didn't think it looked okay. So, and the people that saw the anime definitely didn't think it looked okay.
Right.
Well, I think the people that...
So at least pander to us.
I feel bad about the people who didn't watch the anime. Because the way the trailer painted it out to be was like an action movie. It was very, like, they got all the fucking, hectic scenes.
Yeah, the
and,
chase scenes.
Yeah, the chase scenes, the Ferris wheel falling down, the fucking running, and the, like, looking around corners and shit. And then it was just blah. Like, 90% of the movie. And I'm
Right,
like, damn,
right.
those people, like, gotta feel really shitty that they wasted their time.
Well, that, but then also, like, for the people that might actually watch the fucking anime later on, if they hadn't yet, you know,
Yeah,
now it's fucking ruined for them. They will never want to watch it.
Well, I don't know.
Unless they have friends like us that are like, no, please, God.
Yeah, I watched it
For
with
the love of God, watch the anime. It will redeem the holy fucking shit out
You
of
will
that.
you will trust everything again.
Can confirm. Drew watched it with CJ and I. He hated it and he thought it was the worst thing ever.
Nice.
And then I was like, please just watch the anime. And he's like, I don't know if I can. And
I
I
don't know.
convinced him to, and he keeps texting me about how good it is.
Yeah, the anime is fantastic. Like, it's one of the best out there. That's not like it was probably the first one that I ever got into that wasn't fully like shonen style, where it was action and
That's why I
all that.
like it. It's the first thinking man's anime.
Right,
It's
yeah.
all about there's no action. Nobody's fighting each other. Like you're not
Right.
winning with brute
Because all the
force.
deaths
only,
are just...
Yeah,
Right.
the only way to win is to be smarter than your opponent, and it's just a chess
Right.
game between the two of them the whole time, and it's fucking amazing. It's one of my favorite animes, and there's none of that here. L
Right,
used a
yeah.
gun. L chased Light through apartment complexes and shit.
This is how
with
much
a
I
gun.
love it. This was my first statue. Was L.
Are you kidding me?
Well,
A gun? He had a gun.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It was like a space gun too. It
Yeah.
made it look normal. And like when he ran, he looked like a fucking chimp.
They
Like-
both did.
Yeah,
They just
well, like,
flailed their
yeah.
arms. I don't know.
well, I think they
Who
wanted
thought-
to keep with like he's
Slouch.
always
And yeah-
slouching.
And
yeah.
that is a thing. Like, okay, so the guy who portrayed L, he got the basic mannerisms down.
Mm-hmm.
He did the whole, like he grabbed his phone like it was germ infested, and held it like that.
Right.
He gave people things by just like throwing it down on the table.
What was up with the being disorganized though?
Yeah, I don't know. He was never like that. That was more Nier than it was L.
Don't say that name.
L was always like, he basically kept everything super organized by having Watari do everything.
right.
He just was he's kind of like a president of sorts. He was a figurehead. He has all the answers and the ideas, but Watari did all the work. Like, he did the grunt work.
right.
So he's, he kept everything organized in files and stuff, but then with Nier, that fuckface, he just kept all the papers on the floor and like had the pillow on the
That's-
floor and like did that stuff. So they like kind of combined that character together, and I don't like that.
Well, I
That's
think
one positive about the movie. Nier wasn't in it.
Yeah.
I'll give them another positive.
Yeah, Nier and Mello weren't in it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's they wanted to go more Sherlock Holmes route, where Sherlock Holmes is disorganized or
Oh,
whatever,
yeah,
but he
but I mean-
knows his shit.
Well,
Right.
L was basically Sherlock. Just like the only reason he wasn't disorganized was because he had a butler. Like, that's
Right.
it. Like, it'd be like Batman if he didn't
True,
have
true.
Alfred.
So what happened in the movie? Did L win or?
So here's how it gets fucking annoying.
Wait, I got this. Can I tell it?
Yeah, you do it.
Okay, so, well, where should I start?
Can I tell this story? Okay, tell me how to tell this story.
No, I just want to know where should I start from, because you haven't seen any of the movie. And I
I'd
don't
say
want to tell you
after
the whole story.
after the butler
Like the whole
dies,
movie.
right?
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll start from the
Watari's
when he-
dead.
from when he dies.
Yeah, probably right.
You
So
need to start
he's-
where you thought you were going.
Okay, he starts controlling Watari and like writes down that Watari tells Light L's name, and Watari calls him and is like, I don't know his name. So he tells him all about the orphanage. Watari tells Light all about the orphanage, and Light commands him to go to the orphanage and find L's real name and then call him back. And meanwhile, Light is still getting followed, and L is 100% sure that he's Kira. He's not even investigating anybody else. So first off, that's immediately wrong and stupid, because I think the max he ever was sure was like 72% or something
Yeah,
like that.
and I mean,
I think it got higher.
It did, but I mean, the thing was,
But even then,
And he
was
higher
looking
than
at
he was still
every
looking at
possible
everybody.
outcome.
No, he immediately was like, it's you. He shows up at the Turner's house and starts like assaulting Light and yelling that he kidnapped Watari and what's
Yeah,
going
his
on.
dad.
Yeah, and then his dad has to beat the shit out of L, and then they stop working together. They hate each other. And so then L goes back to their headquarters and gets this future-looking space gun to go and kill Light because he wants Watari back. And meanwhile, Light goes to a dance because he doesn't want to kill Watari. And
which
there's-
had the worst fucking dance. It was like the fucking 80s. It was awful.
the song from Top Gun when they have sex was playing during the slow dance. That was the slow dance. And all I could think of was Tom Cruise sticking his tongue in that chick's mouth in silhouette mode. It was gross, but
Anywho.
so they're at a dance, and Mia reveals to Light that she was the one who killed the FBI agents following him. It wasn't Ryuk, and that she wrote down his name in the Death Note, and he's gonna die at midnight if he doesn't turn the book over to her so she can burn the page. Because that's a new rule. If you own the Death Note, you can burn one page, and that stops somebody from dying.
One time.
Yes, it
Yes.
stops the person who you wrote. It stops them from dying.
Ryuk specifically says
One
one
time.
time this works.
And that's significant too because he goes to burn Watari's name.
That was his plan.
Yeah, his plan was he was supposed to go to the orphanage, get the name, and then Light burns the page so he lives for whatever reason. So she steals the page so he can't burn it because she has to save him because she almost killed him. And so he can't save Watari. And then he goes and he sets up a bunch of criminals to go to this Ferris wheel, and he sets up a doctor who was convicted of rape and got off to pull him out of the water and save him. And he sets up this other guy to retrieve the Death Note from the water. And then he meets her at the Ferris wheel, and he tries to reason with her and tells her that like they can just run away and they don't have to use the Death Note. And he convinces her not to take it. Then she takes it, and all of this was conditional on whether she was taking it, because apparently that's a rule too, is you can put conditions on whether people die.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
it wasn't a thing in the anime. If you tried to put conditions and they couldn't be met, like if she hadn't taken it, she
She'd
would have
just
just died
die,
from a heart
yeah.
attack in 40 seconds.
right.
And so then she ends up taking it. So he had written down that the Ferris wheel falls over and she dies, but he lives, and then those people come and save him.
and his name is burnt up.
Yeah,
His
and it-
sire.
yeah,
They
he
say there's
controls-
conditions, like you can write, hey, this person has to do this, and if they don't do it, they die. But if they do it, they're fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
pretty
He
much.
wrote down that
That's
if,
so
if she
stupid.
didn't, he wrote down that he convinces her not to take the notebook, but if he doesn't, then the Ferris wheel
To
falls
be
over.
fair, we never saw the outcome if she didn't. So maybe she would have died.
I guess that's true.
But it makes it to where the Death Note isn't a Death Note at all. It's a mind control note.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Because, yeah, so that was a thing. And it controls physics, too. Because he
Yeah.
wrote down specifically that his page that was in the Death Note that was going to kill him at
It just
midnight,
burn.
it falls from the Ferris wheel and lands in a garbage fire.
Yeah.
He didn't write that specifically. He just specified that it gets burned, and apparently
Burned somehow, yeah.
God created a fucking trash fire and controlled physics to float the page into it.
All right.
I assumed Ryu created that, not God.
Yeah. Ryu's just running around lighting fires and he's blowing on it. He's like,
Yeah.
This is gonna be super awesome.
They made it seem like he was the one tearing down.
"Fuck you, Spider-Man!"
They made it seem like he was the one tearing down the Ferris wheel.
It kind of did.
Yeah.
Like he was sitting there
Actually,
using
it
like
made
force
it-
powers.
He
That was,
probably
that was another thing. Was it made it seem like he was in charge of all the deaths? Like he carried out the deaths.
He might have. I mean, like again, that's why I kind of liked him was
Because when Watara's in the
he was like glowing eyes,
yeah,
like
he-
looking
Ryuk
at
was
him.
following him through the orphanage, and then he got shot because Light wrote down that he was going to die, and Ryuk was like, "You didn't specify," and he was like, "It's dealer's choice." And later in the movie, once Watari gets shot while Light's on the phone
said
with him,
dealer's choice.
Ryuk comes up and goes, "You said dealer's choice." So it makes it seem like he's doing all the murders, which isn't true.
Yeah. 'cause it
So
was me.
They just
in
die.
this, if you don't specify, they don't just die of a heart attack. It's
Apparently,
like
Ryuk
anything
gets,
could happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ryuk just gets to kill them however
Alright.
he feels
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
And like the heart attack was a huge significant thing. Like the whole point of the
That's
heart
how
attack,
they found out that the Death Note
Yes.
was
Yeah.
actually in existence.
The way that the
They're
way
like,
they found
man,
it,
this just seems too coincidental that everybody's dying of heart attacks.
Yeah,
the way
you know
they
how
found
they-
it this time was Light just immediately started taking credit
yeah,
for all
pretty
the
much.
killings.
Light was like
He
instead,
immediately was.
He just like
Kira-
started his own website instead
Oh,
of somebody
yeah,
else
not-
starting the
no, it
website
was-
for him.
he made
Kira-
them write messages.
Yeah, like you know how he tried to get them to write messages.
He wrote
in
messages,
jail,
like, in
so that
jail
it
and
would
shit, so that L
screw
would-
with them.
Mhm.
Yeah, he did that, but just took immediate credit for it.
He even
went
chose
with
the name Kira.
Yeah, he chose,
He chose
it,
the
and
name.
like,
Wow.
and, yeah, he was sitting there like, I went with Kira, and they're like, oh, why? And he's like, oh, in Russian it means light, and they're like, you don't think that's really
that seems pretty fucked up and stupid.
He's like, no, but in Japanese it means killer. So
yeah, it's like you're an idiot. Like,
Oh, so the end of the movie, he wakes up from his coma, and the guy that he set up to retrieve the Death Note delivers it to him, and his dad comes in and he tells him all about that, because it kind of did it in the anime style, where it shows him putting all the names and stuff in the book, but you don't know the plan until it reveals it after everything's happened.
Right.
So he tells his dad all about it, and he had slipped up when L was chasing him because Mia stole a page out of the Death Note to kill all the FBI agents, and it was in her calculus book. And so when L was chasing him, he yelled something about you can't just change the world with a page in a calculus book or something like that. L remembered that, went to his house to find the calculus book, found the page in it, and it just shows him holding a pen, looking at Light's picture, laughing, and
like
then
he was gonna kill him.
yeah, like he was gonna kill him, but he's not doing it, and that scene lasts for way too long. He's laughing, and it's going back and forth between the page, his face, and the picture of Light and Mia for a good 30 seconds. It was long.
That seems really weird because L like has no emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he was incredibly emotional in the
he
movie.
was horrendously so. It was
Yes.
awful. He would sit there and make irrational choices for no reason.
He'd scream and yell at people, and
Right.
yeah,
Like, I mean, like he's sitting there fucking like he would troll.
Like
He'd
the
sit there-
closest that L ever had to emotion in the manga and anime series was when he like
told Light
ki-
that
kind
he
of
was his
like
best friend.
yeah, like sad and kind of like
Yeah.
loving and
Right.
that was
melancholy.
it. Yeah, like he never was angry in the
yeah,
slightest.
or
He
like
never
every
let
once in a while
emotions
he'd be
get the
happy
best
when
of
he'd
him.
like outsmart Light, like when he stole Misa's phone, and Light
Yeah, but
immediately
even-
called her, and he was like
right.
smiling, holding the phone. But yeah, no, he was not like that at all.
Right.
So then it shows that, and then it shows Light having just explained to his dad how he did it all, and then Ryuk's laughing in the corner of the hospital room, and he says, "You humans are so interesting," and then the credits roll.
Yeah. No one died. Like neither of them died.
So
Only
there's no
Mia.
ending. Like
No.
it didn't end.
Yeah.
It just cuts off.
Yeah. Like it was.
So like they're planning to make a sequel kind
I
of
gotta
thing.
hope not.
And then like the credits, if you like actually sat there and watched through them, like I tried to skip through them to see if there was an end cut to make sure that they weren't.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of weird ass cuts. Like there were like random ballet dancing and
Yeah, there
like,
was
it was
nothing-
just it was arbitrary and odd. The whole thing was fucking weird. Like it
God.
was just
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's how it ends.
I'm like so glad I didn't watch it.
It was really, really bad.
if nothing else, like I said, Ryuk is fun.
Like, can we just like sit down and watch the anime?
Yeah.
Like, I really want Raymond just to watch it.
You
Just
should.
see
I
how good
recommend
is.
it.
I
Yeah,
was gonna
let's do
say earlier, you were saying Drew didn't want to watch the anime because of the movie. I think it was the opposite on me, that I actually was more interested to watch the anime because of at least what the movie tried to do.
I think part of that was because we talked it up beforehand.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
We're like,
true.
this is gonna be awful, but the anime, oh,
Right, like if you didn't have friends that knew the manga and the anime, and you just watched this,
Right.
would you at all be interested in reading a book about it?
To be fair, I
Not
probably wouldn't have
knowing-
watched it
yeah,
at all.
that's true,
So-
but not knowing that the fucking manga and anime were so much better than that,
right.
you know, you would just go in thinking it was really close to that. You know, it's like
Yeah.
the fucking Lord of the Rings movies versus the books, or you know, Harry Potter or whatever. You know, there are differences, but there's
right.
They equal out.
pretty
Yeah.
fucking close. You know,
Right,
this was nothing
No.
at
Yeah.
all in comparison.
not even remotely.
Well, you guys might hate me, but
might,
probably.
yeah, the one other thing besides Ryuk that I kind of liked was L.
I didn't hate him.
See, and that's why I said they should change the characters, because I thought as a story, this wasn't the worst. The acting could have been better, and the writing could have been tightened up. But as a story, it wasn't terrible if it was just two characters facing against each other.
Yeah,
An
yeah.
immature high schooler with a girlfriend who was kind of pulling the strings behind his back, and both of them were already arguing about the morality of it, and L comes in, and he is completely against it. That would have been a more interesting story, but I couldn't get past the fact that they were fucking up all these characters that I've loved since I was in high
Right.
school.
Right,
Right.
and with the whole fucking Mia thing, again, like we talked about, she was doing everything for
him.
Light and the thing. And when I say that, I feel like I have to go into like more specifics. Like she literally did not have a mind of her own. Like
Yeah.
she did not act on her own
Right.
at all.
She would. Ask
There was
him
like
if
one
she could
time
do
maybe
Yeah.
that she
Well-
like did something without his permission, and he was fucking furious.
To
The,
me,
the
it
only thing
sounds-
she did without his permission was when she sent the tapes to
Right.
Sakura
Initially,
TV.
she was,
and
Right.
killed some
she
of the
was a
cops, and he was
copycat
pissed,
killer.
and he went and found her and was like, "Hey, don't fucking do this again." And from there, pretty much nothing she
She
did was her
acted-
decision.
Only based on Light commanding her to do something.
Well, yeah, to me it sounds like a Joker Harley traditional
Right.
relationship
Yeah,
type
pretty
thing.
much.
That's how they were.
Yeah.
Traditional.
Well, traditional like no, the
Yeah,
older
older
version.
You know,
of comics.
traditional
Fashionable
mom dad.
Isn't that how families work? That's how my parents are.
Because like they missed the entire spirit of the anime was two sociopaths who are exactly the same in almost every way, other than the fact that they differ on
Their
how they
morality.
view killing criminals.
Right.
Where Light wants to kill criminals and L is morally opposed to it. And then
And the thing is,
it gets
that,
into
like,
yeah.
sorry. When Light loses his memory and is hunting himself, that was genius because it showed how close they were as characters. It showed them like everything that they did was the same essentially. It was
Right. Yeah.
They literally like became best friends.
Yeah.
They were like, man, this is awesome.
This
Let's
is the
fucking
best.
get this.
Are we
guy."
gonna go in the garage and do karate? Yeah. Like they were so close with that, and then it just turned into a fucking like you feel bad for him because like L finally has a friend,
Right.
and then this asshole was pulling the strings without even knowing he was pulling the strings. So you feel bad for Light. You're like, man, he could have
you
had a
almost
good
don't
life.
want him to get the Death Note back. You're like, hopefully Ryuk just doesn't give it back to him, and then his life can just be good.
Right. Hopefully somebody
Wow.
else picks it up.
Yeah, but like because then you get into a bunch of more morality things. Because Light's only killing criminals, but he also
Well,
kills
like,
the FBI agents hunting him, and that
Right.
gets into, well, if you're the good guy, is killing the people against you, even if they're also good guys, does that make them the bad guys in your mind? And that kind of was what it was for him. He's like, I don't want to kill cops, but these guys are after me, and I'm the good guy, so that makes them the bad guy.
I think in the movie they tried to play on that in a stupid way.
They did, and they fucked it up.
Yeah.
Well, like in the movie, did they show that Light's aspirations in life before the Death Note was he actually wanted to be a detective?
No.
And like wanted to join the police force and become like
No.
L.
He
They
was
showed
a
he was,
troubled
he
kid.
was good at homework.
Yeah, they showed that he was good at doing half of other.
So that's
people's
another thing that
homework.
goes along with that is when Light loses the Death Note in the series is he actually gets to live out his actual aspirations before the Death Note came into play.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
like, oh, he's
Hell.
getting to live his fucking dream now. He's being this detective that he always wanted to be.
He's hunting himself.
Even if they had gone without that portion, they didn't even like go with the whole thing that they were supposed to. Like, Light he's a sociopath, yes, but like his whole thing was to become a god. That was it. He wanted to become the god of Earth.
Right.
And rule with an iron fist. And it was like...
Who doesn't?
Right. Well, it was silly because, I mean, they almost put it polar opposite. Like, Mia was more like Light
Yeah,
than
Mia
Light
was exactly... Well, not exactly, but
Not
she was
exactly,
way more
but
like
yeah.
Light in
Right.
mentality, where she was like, they're the bad guys, which makes us the good guys. Whereas Light was so... She was so right. Just because you're a pussy doesn't mean you get to run away or something like that at the dance.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it was...
It's like, he's a little bitch.
He is a
He
little
wrote down
bitch.
400 names and he's like, I can't do it anymore. Like, commit, man.
Well, I think
Damn.
they wanted to play that he wasn't a sociopath. And so
Even though he is.
Well,
Yeah,
again,
right,
like,
right.
if they had just fucking changed the names of the characters, entirely changed the whole, like, dynamic...
It's
I
like
could've-
another Death Note sub-story.
Yes, because
Yeah,
I could have
yeah.
got behind that. A guy who finds the Death Note, starts killing, and then realizes that maybe
I
he's
killed
not
400 people.
Maybe
Fuck.
I'm not the good guy anymore.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
they get better actors and do L a little bit better. And I think that could have actually been a really good story.
Right.
Also,
Well,
the
like
guy
in the-
who played Light had no fucking chin, and I wanted to punch him for it.
Well, like in the anime and in the manga, you know, there's other people that have Death Notes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not just
See, I was going to ask
Misa
that.
and Light. There are, you know, tons and tons of death gods, and they've lost theirs before. That's
Yeah.
how Misa got hers, and there was a third one, I'm pretty sure, in the manga and anime.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
With Nier and Mello.
Oh,
When, the point when they were in it.
Yeah,
'Cause
the dude. Well, Light gave that guy the Death Note. He gave him his Death Note to carry
wait.
out his actions while he
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
were
no,
three
that
of
guy. I
them.
love that guy.
I love that guy.
I can't remember his name. I know it starts with an M.
Oh, yeah. Fuck, what's his name?
He was just like Light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was the guy who would say when he did shit. It was hilarious because he would
He'd
write
say
names
delete.
down and go delete, delete,
Nice, nice.
delete. Like
He was awesome, though.
It's I love how dramatic the anime was.
But,
it was so
No,
stupid.
there was a point. I can't remember if it was before or after Light lost his memory, but there was like that group of like official fucking CEO guys that had one Death Note.
Mikami.
Mika,
Yeah, Mikami. But I'm pretty sure they had their own Death Note, and then you know there was Lights
Yeah.
and Misa's too.
Because they had
I
like the
gotta
big
rewatch this.
slug-looking Death
Yes,
God.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of.
Right, so there was a third one, and a group of like giant corporate fucking badasses that were using it to take out big competitors.
Right.
No, they were using Misa's because they had her Death God.
They had Ren.
Yeah, they had Rin.
You sure?
Remember, because she's the one that ends up. I'm pretty sure it was.
How'd they get it?
Well,
I felt like they didn't
I thought-
have
I thought
any
she-
Death God there because that dude was still looking for his.
the point is that there were other
trying to
death
remember.
gods, and some of
I
them
need to rewatch it,
decided.
Right, Sam.
Some of them decided to go the same route Ryuk did, and just be like, "Let's find out what happens."
Let's have fun, yeah.
Yeah, because well, I mean, the whole point is just Ryuk is bored. Like he said earlier, Ryuk is fucking bored because all they do is gamble, and they don't really die because every time they write a person's name in it, they just add on to their own life.
Okay.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
that scene where fucking Light's like, well, what if I write your name down? And he's like, oh, well,
They've
there's-
only got to 2 letters.
yeah, there's only 4 letters in my name, and the closest they've ever got is 2, and like the way wonky fingers.
Yeah.
I like those.
Yeah, no, the
those were
process were
endearing.
fun.
Yeah.
But like that part, that's irrelevant. Like you can't kill him anyway.
Right.
So he's just fucking bored, and he's tired of being bored. So that's why Ryuk does the whole thing, and all the other death gods are like, well, that seems a little crazy, and then some of them are like,
Does it?
okay.
I get it.
But does it seem crazy?
And like we brought up Mikami, that was a guy that was just like Light and had a Death Note.
Yeah.
It was actually Light had set up, like he met this guy and knew that he felt exactly the way he did. And Light set it up to where he had Mikami doing all of his killing for him to make himself look innocent all the time.
Right.
they didn't have any of the chess, not like
Back and forth.
Yeah, the back and forth,
like,
where they're
showing all the
trying to
strategizing.
outthink each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, they didn't
like
have
the
that.
the way Elle found out that Light was in Seattle was
Yeah. It was
Stupid.
plot
I can't
convenience.
even- yeah.
He was like, I know he chose a name that means killer in Japanese, but he's not in Japan
Yeah,
because
that's a misnomer.
Too obvious.
He said something about he was putting names in a database or something like that.
Oh yeah. He was placing names around the world in databases.
Yeah,
and,
he was basically
he found
fishing.
the guy was going through Seattle's database.
Yeah, but the way that it happened in the anime, which she didn't ever appear on television or anything, he put in a stand-in named Linda L. Taylor, and he said it was being broadcast around the world, but it was really, he was just going to broadcast it in different regions of Japan, because that's where he suspected he was.
Right.
Because that's where a lot of the criminals were dying.
Right.
And so he was just going to broadcast it in different regions and happened to broadcast it where Light was first. And that was like a big point, was that was the first time Light lost it, and he just immediately killed Linda L. Taylor.
He's like,
right,
it wasn't
he was like-
it- he
Yeah,
felt like he was
yeah.
getting called out, and he's like, well, fuck you, and he wrote his name down, and then L, like, just the L comes up on screen, and he's like, oh, so, like, this is
You
where
fell for it,
Yeah, you
bitch.
fell
Yeah.
for it. This
Guess
is where
you're
you
in
are.
Japan, motherfucker.
And they,
Yeah,
they
basically
tried
have
to
a way
do
to
that.
kill.
That was the first time he got outsmarted because he lost it, and then from there, it's just, like, them playing chess.
Well, he
It's
tried
awesome.
to do that with L in the movie,
but they did it
where he
poorly.
went on TV and there's no way to tell where the fuck he was. Like, he knew where he was at that point.
Yeah.
But Light was just like, I want to write his fucking name down, but he covered his face and I don't know his name, so
Well, like,
I'm fucked.
I mean, I get that they could have done that because, like, in the manga and anime, it made it so silly that he needed to have that whole, like, safety of not showing himself. It was cool. It was a good idea, and it damn well helped with the story, but it was just like, in most people's minds, if you're covering up your fucking face and you don't know their name, you can't kill them with the death note. So it's like, you know, that's cool, but why the fuck was he dressed up like a ninja?
right,
You know, there was
Yeah.
no fucking reason for that. With L, he would have, like they said, send in a stand-in. He would have sent in somebody
Yeah.
else.
The
Yeah, that's
only
true.
time he put his life in danger was to tell Light that he thought he was Kira.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
he was basically daring him to kill him, because then it would confirm that he was Kira. And that was the only
And then
time.
everybody else would be like, oh, okay, it is
Yeah,
Light.
he
Right.
basically was it was the only gamble he ever made with his life, because he didn't just want to die for nothing, but he was like, this is the only way I can know for sure that it's you, so kill me, bitch.
yeah,
Right, and it was smart the way he did it. And like initially, when he had gone on the TV and been like, you know, I suspected that you guys had to kill. I knew that you could kill somebody at a distance without ever having to try, but you know, I didn't realize how efficient it was. So he's like, with the L on the screen, he's like, go ahead, kill me now, kill me. Why can't you? And like, you know, he did that, and then he did the like what Tony said. And met him at a college and was like, hey, I think you're Kira. Guess what? If you kill me, everyone's gonna fucking know.
right. That's cool.
So by doing those two things, he realized that you needed a face and a name.
Right,
so he was,
right.
You know, it showed the deductive, like, process.
Yeah, well, in the movie, he was more just like, I have this theory that he needs a face and a name.
Right.
Like, just out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Just right
so
at the
why do you
beginning.
have that theory?
Yeah, where's that come from? Oh, it's because in the database they had faces and names. It's like, well,
So I just
yeah.
assumed he needed both.
Makes sense, L. Makes sense.
That's good.
All right, so do you two want to do a rating out of 10?
Out of
Of
10,
what you
I
thought
would
about
give it.
0 out of 1,000,000.
the million doesn't change anything.
I would give it specifically a 1 just for Ryuk.
Really?
That's it. Yeah, it was not good. The acting was shit. The setting was shit. You know what? I'll give it a 2 because the deaths like were gruesome. I'll give them that.
Okay.
That yeah, they'll get a 2 from me.
I know. Well,
In all honesty, I'll give it, I want to say 2 or 3, just because they tried to do something new, and I think that's cool. But
Yeah,
they
if
really,
I'm,
they
if I'm
really
not getting my
fucked it up.
bias, if I'm not letting my Death Note bias in, I would give it a solid 2, and that's because it was fucking.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was just that bad.
I think if I'm not letting my bias in, I'd say 4, because it tried. There were points where I was really trying to like it, and I almost did. So I'd say 3 or 4, but with bias, 0.
yeah, I was gonna say 4 or 5. Like, it wasn't. There was nothing particularly good about it. Nothing stood out, but it was fine. It was a thing to watch.
So it's cool. So
What would you give it,
watch
Blake?
I give it nothing.
Oh, cool.
Nothing.
Are you interested in watching it?
No.
Cool.
Are you
I
gonna?
don't know. I might just
The
just
curiosity.
to have to see it. You know?
Right.
Don't
If
put
they made a
yourself through it.
sequel, would you watch it?
We'd have to.
Yeah, we'd absolutely have to. Yeah, like I would.
If they make a
stomach through
sequel, you guys can record the podcast without me. I'm not doing it.
Cool. Okay.
Well, the sequel has to have Nier. If you think I almost stopped watching the anime because I hated that little fuck so much. There's
it
zero
doesn't
way I'm
have
watching
to.
a shit movie with
It
Nier
doesn't
in
have
it.
to have Nier. Nier
It's
wasn't
true.
in the live action
And-
movies.
And Light and L both died. Well, Nier was in the last live action movie. In L Changed the World, he was there. He was just
and
a
L
fucking,
changed the world. I
He
guess.
wasn't near. He
But,
wasn't like
yeah,
the
he wasn't
character.
He
Nier.
wasn't
He was just
like
a kid.
a part in it. They
Okay.
just showed him like,
was like an
hey,
orphan.
he has a successor. That was the only reason they ever
Hey,
showed
look,
him
this
in the
little
live
fucking
action.
shithead exists. Nier is the worst character to ever exist. Honestly, I almost recommend stopping watching the anime halfway through after
Wow.
the big thing happens. Nier is the fucking worst. He's the worst character
really
ever
isn't that bad.
written in the entire history of any media, books, cartoons, anything.
But if the Netflix
Movies.
movies go the route of changing characters however the fuck they want, maybe he'll be different.
all they did in this was take all the characters and make them worse. I don't know how they're gonna make Nier worse, but they can try.
find
They'll
a
find
way.
a fucking way, and I'll want to gouge my own eyeballs out.
He won't like chocolate and robots anymore. That was his one
That was his
redeeming
one
quality.
So like two redeeming qualities to me.
So-
Okay, so we're done here.
Yep, we're done.
Nothing more to say, unless you have a big rant you want to end it on.
Well, I think
that was.
I think
Okay.
that last round. was
Okay,
pretty decent.
okay. That wasn't even on the show, that was on Nier.
Well, fuck Nier. Nier's the
Okay.
fucking worst.
And that's where it cuts.
I think we should
That's
just
the-
end on a. If you watched this and you
Sorry.
haven't seen the anime, for the love of God, go back and watch the anime.
Yeah.
It is worth your time, and this piece of garbage wasn't worth a second of your time, let alone an hour and a half. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
Give
on
the
the
time
inverse,
back.
if you've
Call it
watched the
Netflix.
anime but you haven't watched this, don't. Just don't.
Just don't.
Cool.